Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loko Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loko Tranaya Karuna Ganaganatam Prapta Sakalyana Gurnanavasa Vande Gurashi Charana Ravindam Prapta Sakalyana Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Mahaprabhu ki Tana Nitya Gita Varitramadhyam Manasura Sena Mahaprabhu Romanchakam Pasru Taranga Bhajo Vande Gurashi Charana Vrindam Romanchakam Pasru Taranga Bhajo Vande Gurashi Charana Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana Shringaratanama Niramajanado Shri Vigrahara Jukta Sabhaktam Sa Niyunjatopi Vande Gurashi Charana Vrindam Jukta Sabhaktam Sa Niyunjatopi Vande Gurashi Chaturvidhashi Bhagavat Prasada Satana Triptan Hari Bhakta Sangha Chaturvidhashi Bhagavat Prasada Satana Triptan Kridvaiva Tripti Bhajato Shadeva Vande Gurashi Charana Vrindam Shirarikama Davayara Para Madhura Lila Gunarupa Namna Shirarikama Pratikshana Dhanalolupasya Vande Gurashi Charana Vrindam Ne kunja yuno ratikeri sidya Jaya libir jokte apekshaniya Ne kunja yuno ratikeri sidya Jaya libir jokte apekshaniya Tatrati daksha Ativalabhasya Vande Gurashi Charana Vrindam Sakshat Haridena Samasta Shastri Ruktastatthava Vyataiva Sadhuvi Sakshat Haridena Samasta Shastri Kintu Prabhaja Priyaiva Tasya Bande Gurashi Charanarvindam Bande Gurashi Charanarvindam Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasado Yasya Prasadam Nagati Kutapi Yasya Prasadam Bhagavat Prasadam Yasya Prasadam Dhyayam Stubham Tasya Yasya Trinsandhyam Bande Gurashi Charanarvindam Dhyayam Stubham Tasya Yasatrin Sandhyam Bande Gurashi Charanarvindam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pachatari Shatarine Namaste Deve Nirvishesha Shunavadi Pachatari Shatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, oh, Hare Krishna, oh, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, oh, Hare Rama, oh, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Nama, Krishna Jadavaye Nama. जादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः गोपाल गोविंद राम श्री मधुसूदन गिरिधारी गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन श्री चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत सीता हरि गुरु वैष्णव भगवत गीता श्री रूप सनातन अवतार गुना श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दशर गुना श्री राधा नीला माधव राधा नीला माधव राधे जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रमा जय सुदर्शन चक्र निताय गौरा हरिबो 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 निताय गो हरिबो निताय गो हरिबो हरिबो निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरिबो जय विष्णु पार परम सप्रभाज काचार्य अष्टोत्तर सरशिष्य मार्ग दिवान ग्रेस अभय चरमिन भक्ति विरांत स्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जय इस्कॉन प्रतिष्ठा विभूति संस्थापक आचार्य वैष्णव शिरोमणि परित पावन श्रील प्रभुपाद जी महाराज की जय श्री गौर्य गुरु वर्गापति उद्धार की जय श्री रूप सनातन भक्त रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भक्त दास गुण सतगोस्वामी प्रभु की जय नाम आचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर जी की जय अनंत कुटी वैष्णव वृंद की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय परम दयाल श्री नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय जय प्रणाम संकीर्तन एक जनाक प्रेम पुरुषोत्तम श्री सच्चिदानंद स्मरण गौरंग श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु गौर हरि मावलनाय अवतार की जय गौर केर प्रमधान हरिनाम संकीर्तन जगह की जय जोग धर्म हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय बृहद निदांग ट्वेंस नेतुर बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सेवा की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपना राधा कुंद श्याम कुंद गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय श्री ब्रज वृंदावन मथुर धाम की जय तेलो शिव शिष्य राधा नील माधव की जय शिष्य माया पुण्यवद्वीप एक चक्रधाम की जय परम करुण शिष्य गौर निताय की जय श्री पुरुषोत्तम चित्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय श्री श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी बलदेव प्रभु सुभद्रा देवी सुदर्शन चक्र भगवान की जय श्री सीताराम लक्ष्मण भक्त हनुमान जी की जय भक्ति सर्व विघ्न विनाश न कर सिंहरे भगवान की जय जगंगा माई जमुना माई की जय तुलसी महारानी वृंदी देवी भक्ति देवी की जय श्री मथुराधारानी की जय समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय निताय गौरी प्रमानंद हरिभो all glories to somebody bodies all glories to somebody bodies all glories to somebody bodies all glories to Shri Guru Shri Gauranga. Namaste Narasimhaya Prahlada Daine कशिपु वच शिलाटङ्कनकालये Ito nisinga parato nisinga Jaya jato jato jamita to nisinga Bahire nisinga hridaye nisinga Narasingamadim Sharanam Prapade
Tavakara Kamalavare Nakam Adbhuta Shingam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare
Abakara Kamalavare Nakam Adbhuta Shingam Dalita Hiranyakashipu
Tanu Bringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare
Jaya Kesavaduta Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare
Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Narasimhadev Jaya Narasimhadev Jaya Narasimhadev Jaya Narasimhadev
Jaya Nisinghadev Jaya Nisinghadev Jaya Nisinghadev Jaya
Narasimhadev Jaya Bhakta Prahlad Jaya Bhakta Prahlad Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj
Jaya Bhakta Prahlad Jaya Bhakta Prahlad Jaya
Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya
Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev
Jaya Jaya Gurudev Gurudev
Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev विघ्न विनाशक लक्ष्मी नरसिंहदेव भगवान की
जय
दत्त शिरोमणि प्रहलाद महाराज की
जय
गौर प्रेमानंद
हरि बोल Shri Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyaye Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavataye Namo Namah. Vrindayai Tulasi Vai Priyayai Keshava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavataye Namo Namah. Vrindayai Tulasi Vai Priyayai Keshava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavataye Namo Namah. Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrindadevi Ki.
Namo Namah Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namah
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namah.
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namah
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namah.
Radha Krishna Seva Pavo Eya Vilasi
Radha Krishna Seva Pava Eya Vilasi.
Radha Krishna Seva Pavo Eya Vilasi
Radha Krishna Seva Pava Eya Vilasi.
Jetomaya Sharanaloy Tada Vancha Purnahoy
Jetamara Sharanana Taravancha Purna.
Kripa Kori Korotare Vrindavanavasi
Tumi Kripa Kore Korotare Vrindavanavasi.
Moraya Vilas Vilas Kunjeri
Moraya Vela Velas Kunjeliava.
Naya Neheri Bosada Jugala Ruparasi
Aminaya Neri Bosada Jugala Ruparasi.
Ei Nivedana Daro Sakiranu Koro
Nivedana Dhara Sakirayanu Gatakana.
Seva Adhikara Diye Koro Nijadasi
Sevayadi Kara Diye Kara Nijarasi.
Dina Krishna Dase Koi Eye Namora
Dina
Hoy
Krishna Daseka Eye Namora.
Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sadaya Nabasi
Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sadaya Navasi.
Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sadayena Vasi.
Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sadayena Vasi.
Yani Kani Cha Papani Brahma Tati Kani Cha Tani Tani Pranashanti Pradakshina Pade Pade.
Yani Kani Sapapani Brahma Hatani Kani Sa Tani Tani Panasanti Pradakshina Pade Pade.
Yani Kani Cha Papani Brahma Tati Kani Cha Tani Tani Pranashanti Pradakshina Pade Pade.
Yani Kani Sapapani Brahma Hatani Kani Sa Tani Tani Pranasanti Pradakshina Pade Pade.
Yani Kani Cha Papani Brahma Tati Kani Cha Tani Tani Pranashanti Pradakshina Pade Pade.
Kani Sapapani Brahma Tani Kani Sa Tani Tani Pranasanti Pradakshina Pade.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani.
Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani.
Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi.
Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Shri Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyaya Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavataye Namo Namah. Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyaya Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavataye Namo Namah. Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavataye Namo Namah. Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Lord Tulasi, beloved Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire to attend the service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of you as wishes fulfilled, bestow your mercy upon him and make him resident over in Vrindavan. My desire is that you also give me a residence in pleasure groves of Shri Vrindavan Dham. Thus, within my vision, I will always behold the beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower of Kavya damsels of Raj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very full and lowly servant of Krishna praise. May I always swim in love with Shri Radha Govind, Shri Mati Tulasi Maharani, Brinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sikha Astakam Ki Jai. Chaito Darpanam Mahajanam Bhavamadavam Nivapanam Shweyakari Bachandika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Udivardhanam Padiparam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatmasnam Param Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Namnamakari Baudha Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatra Niyamita Shmarane Nakala Itadrishi Tava Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi Gurdaiva Midisham Yajani Nanuraga Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sikyastakam Ki Jai. Namo Mahavarannaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaura Krishna. Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart all of the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. The Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully test the nectar for which we're always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govind. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There is not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, we enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate I have no attraction for them. Once you chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself a lower and straw in the street, one should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer our respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotion and service birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I have fallen in this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? And will the hairs of my body stand on end with the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I feel all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he should remain so, even if handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Jai Shri 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 Krishna Kam Ki Jai. There are 10 offenses in matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that should be avoided. They are as follows. 1, to blaspheme the devotee who dedicate their life for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2, to consider the names of demigods, our Lord Shiva or Brahma, to be equal to or independent of the name Lord Vishnu. 3, to disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4, to blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature of Vedic version. 5, consider the glory of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6, to give some interpretation of the holy name of the Lord. 7, to commit sinful activities and strength with chanting the holy name of the Lord. 8, to consider with chanting Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in Vedas as fruitive activity karma kanda. 9, to instruct the fearless person about the glories of holy name. And 10, to not have complete faith in chanting with the holy names, and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions in this matter. It also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success, Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our most humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnavas, devotees of the Lord. They are just like desired trees, they can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls.
Vanchakalpatarabhischa kripasindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Vaishnava Thakur ki jai. Shri Guru Pranama prayers ki jai. Om Aganya Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manubhistam Shapitam Yena Bhutali Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jataha Pachikamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Ragunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Padijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahaguna Lalita Shri Vishaka Nivitam Shah Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutali Shrimati Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namini Shri Vasubhanavi Devi Dayitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutali Shrimati Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namini Shri Vasubhanavi Devi Dayitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Raktita Shri Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namastute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupa Nuga Virudapa Apisadanta Dvantaharine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambara Sambode Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachitanandanamine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupa Nuga Varayate Gauravir Baba Bhumestvam Nirdesta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Savabhoma Shri Jagannathayate Namaha Vanchakalpatarabhyascha kripasindubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Mahabodhanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Guru Chase Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakam Namami Bhakta Saktikam. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostukte Jayatam Surator Pangur Mama Manda Matergati Matsarva Swapadambojo Radha Madana Mohano Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadrumadaha Shimad Ratnagara Simhasanastato Shimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prestali Bihi Sevyamanam Smarami Shiman Rasarasarambi Vamsivata Tatastita Karsan Venuswaner Gopir Gopinatakstriyestuna Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneswari Rishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktavrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Panchatattva Mantra Ki Jai. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is always accompanied by his plenary expansion, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, his incarnation, Sri Advaita Prabhu, his internal potency, Sri Gadadhar Prabhu, and his marginal potency, Srivas Prabhu. He is in the midst of them as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should know that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is always accompanied by these other tattvas. Tattvas means truths. Therefore, our obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are complete when we say, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. As preachers of the Krishna consciousness movement, we first offer our obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by chanting this Panchatattva mantra. Then we say, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There are 10 offenses in the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, but these are not considered in the chanting of the Panchatattva mantra, namely Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is known as the Mahavadhanyavatara, the most magnanimous incarnation, for he does not consider the offenses of the fallen souls. Thus, to derive the full benefit from chanting the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, we must first take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, learn the Panchatattva mantra, and then chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That will be very effective. Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The transcendental vibration established by the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is the sublime method of reviving our Krishna consciousness. As living spiritual souls, we are all originally Krishna conscious entities, but due to our association with matter from time immemorial, our consciousness is now polluted by the material atmosphere. The material atmosphere in which we are now living is called Maya, or illusion. Maya means that which is not. And what is this illusion? The illusion is that we are all trying to be lords of material nature, while actually we are under the grip of her stringent laws. When a servant artificially tries to imitate the all-powerful master, this is called illusion. In this polluted concept of life, We are all trying to exploit the resources of material nature, but actually we are becoming more and more entangled in her complexities. Therefore, although we are engaged in a hard struggle to conquer nature, we are ever more dependent on her. This illusory struggle against material nature can be stopped at once by revival of our Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is not an artificial imposition on the mind. This consciousness is the original energy of the living entity. When we hear the transcendental vibration, this consciousness is revived, and this process is recommended for this age by authorities. By practical experience also, one can perceive that by chanting this Mahamantra, or the great chanting for deliverance, one can at once feel transcendental ecstasy coming through from the spiritual stratum. And when one is factually on the plane of spiritual understanding, surpassing the stages of senses, mind, and intelligence, one is situated on the transcendental plane. The chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is directly enacted from the spiritual platform, and thus this sound vibration surpasses all lower strata of consciousness, namely sensual, mental, and intellectual. There is no need, therefore, to understand the language of the mantra, nor is there any need for mental speculation or any intellectual adjustment for chanting the Mahamantra. It springs automatically from the spiritual platform, and as such, anyone can take part in the chanting without any previous qualification and dance in ecstasy. We have seen this practically. Even a child can take part in the chanting, or even a dog can take part in it. Of course, for one who is too entangled in material life, it takes a little more time to come to the standard point. But even such a materially engrossed man is raised to the spiritual platform very quickly. When the mantra is chanted by a pure devotee of the Lord in love, it has the greatest efficacy on the hearers, and as such, this chanting should be heard from the lips of a pure devotee of the Lord, so that immediate effects can be achieved. As far as possible, chanting from the lips of non-devotees should be avoided, just as milk touched by the lips of a serpent should be avoided because of its poisonous effects. The word Hara is a form of addressing the energy of the Lord, and the words Krishna and Rama are forms of addressing the Lord himself. Both Krishna and Rama mean the supreme pleasure, and Hara, or Radharani, means the supreme pleasure energy of the Lord. Change to Hare in the vocative. Vocative means a noun. The supreme pleasure energy of the Lord helps us reach the Lord. The material energy called Maya is also one of the multi-energies of the Lord, and we, the living entities, are also an energy, the marginal energy of the Lord. The living entities are described as superior to material nature. Superior to material energy. When this superior energy is in contact with the inferior energy, an incompatible situation arises. But when the superior marginal energy is in contact with the superior energy called Hara, the living entity is established in its happy, normal condition. These three words, namely Hare, Krishna, and Rama, are the transcendental seeds of the Maha Mantra. The chanting is a spiritual call for the Lord and his internal energy, Hara, to give protection to the conditioned soul. This chanting is exactly like the genuine cry of a child for its mother. Mother Hara helps the devotee achieve the grace of the Supreme Father Hari or Krishna, and the Lord reveals himself to the devotee who chants this mantra sincerely. No other means of spiritual realization, therefore, is as effective in this age as chanting the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, and verse number 33. So this is the first verse of the 4 nutshell verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam, on which the whole Srimad Bhagavatam is based, and the expansion of these 4 verses becomes the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. So yesterday we stopped on the beginning of the 3rd paragraph, and it says, "The Lord has unlimited numbers of transcendental qualities, and one of them is his affection for his unalloyed devotee. In the history of the mundane world, we can appreciate his, meaning Krishna's, transcendental qualities. The Lord incarnates himself for the protection of his devotees and for the annihilation of the faithless. His activities are in relationship with his devotees. Srimad Bhagavatam is full of such activities of the Lord in relationship with his devotees, and the non-devotees have no knowledge of such pastimes. The Lord lifted the Govardhan hill when he was only 7 years old, and protected his pure devotees at Vrindavana from the wrath or anger of Indra, who was overflooding the place with rain. Now, this lifting of the Govardhan hill by a 7-year-old boy may be unbelievable for the faithless, but for the devotees it is absolutely believable. The devotee believes in the almighty potency of the Lord, while the faithless say that the Lord is almighty but do not believe it. Such men with a poor fund of knowledge." Let's see. I'm sorry. I started from the wrong paragraph. Let's go. Yeah. All right. I'm sorry. We're starting from the end of the 2nd paragraph, so we're beginning the 3rd paragraph of verse 33. "The other feature of the statement is that the supreme truth is Bhagavan, or the personality of Godhead. The personality of Godhead and his kingdom have already been explained. The kingdom of Godhead is not void as conceived by the impersonalist. The Vaikuntha planets are full of transcendental variegatedness, including the 4-handed residents of those planets, with great opulence of wealth and prosperity, and there are even airplanes and other amenities required for high-grade personalities. Therefore, the personality of Godhead exists before the creation, and he exists with all transcendental variegatedness in the Vaikuntha Lokas. The Vaikuntha Lokas, also accepted in the Bhagavad Gita as being of the Sanatana nature, or meaning eternal, are not annihilated even after the annihilation of the manifested cosmos. Those transcendental planets are of a different nature altogether, and that nature is not subjected to the rules and regulations of material creation, maintenance, or annihilation. The existence of the personality of Godhead implies the existence of the Vaikuntha Lokas, as the existence of a king implies the existence of a kingdom." So why is Prabhupada taking so much time to explain this point? It's because the Mayavadi philosophers in India, the impersonalists, they claim that Vaikuntha does not exist. They claim that Goloka Vrindavan does not exist. They claim that all the residents of Vaikuntha Loka and Goloka Vrindavan do not exist. And they claim that when Krishna appears in the material world, he has a material body like we do. So, to correct all these false statements, these 4 nutshell verses of Bhagavatam clearly establish that Krishna existed before the material creation. Krishna's body is Sat Chitananda Vigraha. It has no material elements in his body like we do. And therefore there's no difference between his soul and his body. And that the spiritual planets like Vaikuntha and Goloka are full of liberated living entities. So this is to counter all these false and misleading statements by the Mayavadis. Now, 96% of all the gurus in India are Mayavadis. At least 96%. Maybe it's 98%. Right? They're all Mayavadis. In other words, they're teaching something that's false and misleading the Hindus. This is why the Hindus are divided. They are now becoming very fallen. And as we've said before, but I'll repeat it again, 50% of the Hindus in India eat meat. Another 25% of the Hindus in India eat meat only outside of the house, not in the house. They go to restaurants and hotels to eat meat. So, what is the difference between a Hindu, or that 75% of the Hindus, and the Muslims? There's no difference between them. What the Muslims do, they eat meat. They believe in God. They chant mantras. They have their Quran verses. What do the Christians do? They eat meat. They also chant mantras, or they chant the Bible, right? And they perform sacrifices for material benefits. They're called so-called blessings. So there's no difference between those 75% Hindus and the Muslims and the Christians. That's why there's a problem. The only difference is the Christians all vote in bloc, and so do the Muslims. But the Hindus are all divided. That's why eventually the Muslims and the Christians will take over India. And they'll end up fighting with each other also to wipe each other out. So, but first, they're both united now to wipe out the Hindus. And they're very successful at it. Because there's some more interesting information. The head man of Tirupati, they are not IIT, but IS officers, right? Very high level officers in India. He's a Christian. What did he do? Just recently, he mandated that people have to be divided according to their caste, whoever comes to Tirupati. And the Brahmanas have first and best darshans of Balaji, the Kshatriyas second, that would be military people, the Vaishyas third, they're a rich businessman, and all the Sudras are at the bottom. This never happened before in Tirupati, because everyone was allowed equally to come. If you had more money, you could get a better darshan, or quicker darshan. But now, they purposely did this. Why? Because they know that all the Sudras are going to eventually become Christians because they're being mistreated by the others, you see. So there's very vicious things going on in India right now to wipe out completely Hinduism. They want to wipe it out completely in Vedic knowledge. They just want to wipe it out. Okay, so in the 8th chapter, it says, and it's a very important verse, and it's referred to in this purport. It says, Parastasmat babu nyo vyakto vyaktat sanatana yasasarve sabhutesu nasyatsu na vinasyati. So here in the purport it said, the Vaikuntha Lokas also accepted in the Bhagavad Gita as being of the Sanatana, or eternal nature, are not annihilated even after the annihilation of the manifested cosmos. Well, that's what this verse says, 8th chapter, 20th verse. Yet there is another unmanifest nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. So, the Mayavadis also say that the material world is an illusion. It doesn't really exist. The Mayavadis also say, as we've explained by the successor of Sankaracharya, Sadananda Yogendra, they say that Krishna's body is material. And not only is it a material body, but Krishna's body is the sum total of ignorance. So They say he is the supreme ignorance in the universe. Therefore, in order to attain Brahman realization, one must reject Krishna. They actually say it like that. You have to reject Krishna. These are all lies. They're misrepresentations purposely because they're envious. They're envious that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, exists. See? Okay, so that verse is 820. See, everything Prabhupada says is backed up by Shastric evidence. That's why we should always be very attentive to what he says. So this is one little line. The Vaikuntha Lokas also accepted in the Bhagavad Gita as being of the Sanatana nature, Sanatana means eternal, are not annihilated even after the annihilation of the manifested cosmos. Okay, then we continue. Those transcendental planets are of a different nature altogether, and the nature is not subjected, and that nature is not subjected to the rules and regulations of material creation, maintenance, or annihilation. In other words, they don't have to be maintained by Brahma and Shiva and Vishnu. They're maintained by Krishna. They don't have to be created like Brahma creates, and they don't have to be annihilated. Shiva annihilates, right? They're eternally manifest. The existence of the personality of God implies the existence of the Vaikuntha Lokas, as the existence of a king implies the existence of a kingdom. So this is called understanding the known in order to understand the unknown, right? So just as a king in this world has a whole kingdom full of people, so the king of the Vaikuntha planets and of Goloka also has a kingdom full of people. But the difference is everybody has a spiritual body, everyone is eternal, and there's no birth, death, old age, and disease. There's no need of creation, maintenance, and destruction or dissolution or annihilation. So we continue. In various places in Srimad Bhagavatam and in other revealed scriptures, the existence of the personality of Godhead is mentioned. Well, right in the first verse, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. There it is. It says, and now let us hear about the supreme, beautiful, absolute personality of Godhead, the son of Vasudeva. And his name is Vasudeva with a long A, and his father's name is Vasudeva with a short A. So that means Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead, the son of Vasudeva. In various places in Srimad Bhagavatam and in other revealed scriptures, the existence of the personality of Godhead is mentioned. For example, in the Srimad Bhagavatam 2.8.10, Maharaja Parikshit asks, Sakchapi yatra purusho vishwastit yud bhava pyaya mukt vatva mayam mayesha sete sarva guhashaya. How does the personality of God, the cause of creation, maintenance, and annihilation, who is always freed from the influence of the illusory energy and is the controller of the same, lie in everyone's heart? Well, here we're going to learn some English now, complicated English. This will prove how difficult the English language actually is. Most people do not know how to speak English. They speak it, but they don't really understand the language. Now, if I say you're a liar, how would you spell liar? Huh? L what? Yes. Now, if I say lie down, how would you spell it? Say L-A-Y, and you said L-I-E. Okay, which one is it?
Lay down is L-A-Y. Lie down for individual, when you are giving an instruction to lie down, it's L-I-E.
Wrong. Okay. So when you say lay the book down,
That's LAY.
L-A-Y. If I say lie down, L-I-E. How do you spell the plural of lie down?
Plural.
Yes? No, no. I said, how do you spell the plural? What? No. No.
Plural of lie down.
Yes. It's lying, right?
You mean continuous tense?
Okay. Anyway, let's go back. First of all, the difference between lay and lie. Both are verbs. But when you say lay the book down, lay always has an object, right? So the object is book. Lie, L-I-E, never has an object. So please lie down. There's no object there. Or as it says here. Now look what it says in this verse. I mean, in this purport. It says, "How does the personality of Godhead, the cause of creation, maintenance, and annihilation, who is always freed from the influence of the illusory energy and is the controller of the same, lie in everyone's heart?" So what does that mean? Lie in everyone's heart. Does it mean he's a liar? No. But lie is spelled the same. It's the same word, right? L-I-E means you lie. You tell the untruth. But here it says lie in everyone's heart. So how is the Lord lying in everyone's heart? What?
He's situated in everyone.
No. It means he's horizontal. That's what it means. When you say lie down, it means you lie down in a horizontal way. So that's Mahavishnu, or that's Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, you see. So it says, and is the control of the same, lie in everyone's heart. But if I say lay the book down, there's an object, right? When I say lie down, there's no object, right? And lie means horizontal. Lay means you just put something down. Now we go to the plural. That gets even more complicated. Because there's laying and there's lying. L-A-Y-I-N-G and L-Y-I-N-G. So you don't spell L-I-E-I-N-G. You spell L-Y-I-N-G. But when you say lay, or let me say the people, let me see if I can get an example. Many people were laying down, or no, you would say, many books in the library are laying on the shelves. How would you spell that? No, actually, that's a mistake. It would be many books in the library are lying on the shelves. So that would be L-Y-I-N-G. Now, what would be an example of laying?
Laying the eggs.
Yeah, that would be an example, laying the eggs. Okay? So you see, now, if you say someone is lying, like telling is not the truth, how would you spell that? No. Why don't you look it up? You see, you learn English when you come to the class. And if you don't come to the class, you'll continue making all these mistakes of English. Yeah? How do you spell it?
L-I-E.
L-I what? L-I-E-I-N-G. So if you say, all the senators were lying. What? Yeah. You see that?
I think it's also LYIN.
L-Y?
That's also,
No, L, lying is also L-Y-I-N-G.
yeah, because I searched for lying and it said lying and stealing as a phrase.
Okay, good. So it's L-Y-I-N-G. It's not L-I-E-I-N-G. Okay, good. Okay, so you see, by reading Srimad Bhagavatam carefully, we also learn English. So it says, how does the personality of Godhead, the cause of creation, maintenance and annihilation, who is always freed from the influence of the illusory energy, and is the controller of the same, lie in everyone's heart? Now, someone who doesn't know English will say, oh, it says here that he lies. He lies in the heart. That means he's lying to us. No. Similar also is a question of Viduras. Tatvanam Bhagavan's lesam tesam katida pratisankrama tatremam ka upashiran ka yu svid anuserate. Bhagavatam 3:737. Sridhar Swami explains this in his notes. During the annihilation of the creation, who serves the Lord lying on the sesha, etc.? So here he used, right, the plural, or the, not the plural, the continuous form is lying, L-Y-I-N-G. So he said lie, L-I-E, above, and now he's saying L-Y-I-N-G instead of L-A-Y-I-N-G or L-I-E-I-N-G. Okay? So during the annihilation of the creation, who serves the Lord lying on the sesha, etc.? So it means he's reclining. He's in a horizontal position on Shesha Naga. This means that the Transcendental Lord, with all his name, fame, quality, and paraphernalia, exists eternally. The same confirmation is also in the Kashi Khanda of the Skanda Purana in connection with Dhruva Charita. It is said there, Na Chayavante pi yad bhakta mahatyam pralayapadi ato chuto kile loke sa eka sarvago vyaya. Even the devotees of the personality of Godhead are not annihilated during the period of the entire annihilation of the material world, not to speak of the Lord himself. The Lord is ever existent in all three stages of material change. What are the three stages of material change? Creation, maintenance, and annihilation. So this means that even when the material world is annihilated, the spiritual world is still continuing. It still has all types of, infinite number of living entities. In Vaikuntha, they have 4 arms. In Goloka, they have 2 arms. And the Lord himself is existing even though the whole material creation has been annihilated. And to support this, Prabhupada gives not only Bhagavad Gita, but also 8:20, but also Srimad Bhagavatam 2:8:10, Srimad Bhagavatam 3.7.37, and the Skanda Purana. Okay, so this shows you how Prabhupada is writing his purports. He always has scriptural evidence to back up every word and every sentence. Every word and every sentence. He's very precise. And the devotees and Prabhupada, when he dictated, he used the correct English also. Right. So now we continue. The impersonalist adduces. All right, what does adduce mean? A-D-D-U-C-E. Adduce means exactly what Prabhupada does. He cites as evidence. Adduce means cite, and how do you spell cite? S-I-T-E or C-I-T? C-I-T. See, they're pronounced the same way, but they mean different things. So a site is like a place, right? And site, C-I-T, is something that's spoken. You see how confusing English can be? You know, very few people know how to speak correct English. Very few people. The impersonalist adduces no activity in the Supreme. So in other words, they say, oh, God has no activity, doesn't do anything. Right? But in this discussion between Brahma and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord is said to have activities also, as he has his form and quality. The activities of Brahma and other demigods during the maintenance of the creation are to be understood as the activities of the Lord. The king. So now, this is another example to explain this statement that he just made. Now, one thing you have to understand, Prabhupada says that analogy is not proof. So this is an analogy. But analogy is used to help people who are ignorant, that means all of us, understand something that's transcendental. It is not proof, however. Analogies are never proof, but they just are used as a vehicle or a segue by which one can understand something transcendental by having an example in the material world that points to it. It's not the proof of it, but it just points to it. It's like your mirror image. The mirror image is not you, but it points to you existing somewhere. So analogy is never proof, but analogy helps ignorant people who have no knowledge of the spiritual world or spiritual reality to understand, to use something known to understand something unknown, or at least have an idea of the unknown, right? So now he's giving an example of a king. He says, the king, or the head executive of a state, may not be seen in the government offices, for he may be engaged in royal comforts. Yet it should be understood that everything is being done under his direction and everything is at his command. The personality of Godhead is, now he goes back to Krishna. The personality of Godhead is never formless. In the material world, he may not be visible in his personal form to the less intelligent class of men, and therefore he may sometimes be called formless. But actually, he is always in his eternal form in his Vaikuntha planets, as well as in other planets of the universes as different incarnations. Now we're going to go to Christianity. Look up Arianism, A-R-I-N-S, A-R-I-A-N-I-S-M, A-R-I-A-N-I-S-M. Okay, read, come to the microphone, read what it means. Now we're going to learn about Christianity. Have you ever heard of Arianism?
No. So let's go to the full. Arianism, it's a Christian theology.
Okay, it's a Christian spiritual so-called understanding, right?
So it's an influential hearsay.
Influential what?
Hearsay.
Okay, influential hearsay. Hearsay means something that was heard in time.
Denying the divinity of Christ, originating in the Alexandrian priest Arius. Arianism maintained that the Son of God was created by the Father and was therefore neither co-eternal with the Father nor co-substantial.
Okay, so in plain English, this means what? Okay, that's not enough. There's some more to the meaning. Anyway, let me explain it in simple English. Right? You see how they write things, so it's hard for you to understand. Christianology, right?
Yeah.
That's a big word. Christological, right? And then you had a big word there too. What was that big word?
It's co-substantial, co-eternal.
Yeah, co-substantial and co-eternal. Okay, so in plain English, this is saying that what was that phrase in the beginning? It's a hearsay.
Hearsay.
Okay, see, that's called a pejorative. Look that word up, pejorative. P-E-J-O-R-A-T-I-V-E. A pejorative is a way of saying something to belittle what it's talking about, to make it look as if it's not bona fide.
Expressing contempt or disapproval.
Yeah, expressing contempt or disapproval. It's belittling. It's making it insubstantial. It's making it like it's not really true. You see? So it's a pejorative. When it says a hearsay, it doesn't say was spoken by authorities. No, it's a hearsay. It was spoken by Joe Schmo, right? Who doesn't know
not an authority.
anything. It's not an authority, right? That's not true, by the way. But anyway, they're prejudiced, and they're setting it up in a pejorative mode, right? Anyway, what it's saying is that these people who were following Arius, he was the guy he's the so-called hearsayer, right? He was a person. He was living in Alexandria in Egypt, but he was a Greek. At that time, Greece had conquered some part of Egypt. Anyway, and it was a center of Greek culture, Alexandria. In fact, I've been to Alexandria. It's right on the Mediterranean coast. It's a very nice city. Anyway, it says that this guy Arius, he came up with a theory that because it says that Jesus is the Son of God, that means God produced him from his, so therefore if he was produced by God, that means that God was existing before Jesus. Therefore he's not co-equal, right? And he's not co-substantial. Yeah. Co-substantial means that he's equal to God. He has the same substance as God. So it's implying that he's material. His body was material, right? And God produced him, and he appeared in the material world with a material body. Basically, that's it. Now this for the Orthodox Christians was called anathema. Look that word up, anathema.
Anathema. Something or someone that has that one vehemently dislikes.
What? Say that again.
Something or someone that one vehemently dislikes.
No, one vehemently. You're not pronouncing it right.
Vehemently.
Vehemently means, you're gung-ho. This guy is nonsense. That's what it means, right? He's vehemently.
Strong.
Yeah, vehemently against, right? So anathema for the Christians was the statement by Arius that Jesus is not co-equal to God. In other words, eternal. And he's not co-substantial. He's different. His body is material, whereas God's body is something that's not material. Right? So, Arius had half of it right. And what is that half? It has nothing to do with co-equal and co-substantial. Arius had it right that Jesus is the Son of God. That's in the Bible. That's the statement in the Bible. But he, like the Christians, have misinterpreted what it means. Both the Orthodox Christians and and Arius got it wrong. You have to read Srimad. Now, why did they get it wrong? Because they were depending on Greek philosophy to understand the Bible. That's why. If they had used Srimad Bhagavatam to understand Jesus and Christianity, they would not have gotten this wrong. So the whole history of Christianity is one thing is right. Jesus is the Son of God. Everything after that is wrong. Right? when I say everything after that, I mean some of the things are a little bit right, but they're not 100% right, and a lot of things are completely wrong. Like, for example, if you go to Sistine Chapel and you see the body of Christ that was painted by Michelangelo under the tutelage, under the direction of the Pope at that time, he made God an old guy, with wrinkles and gray hair and, and flaccid seed. Flaccid is another good word, F-L-A-C-C-I-D, flaccid. What's that mean? You should write all these words down. This is a vocabulary class.
Yeah, it's soft and hanging loosely.
Yeah, like so when you get
limpy.
old, the skin in the bottom of your arms starts hanging down, and the skin in your face starts hanging down. Flaccid, right? So they made God a flaccid old guy with wrinkles and gray hair. That is completely wrong. You see? So they had a few things that were half right. One thing that was right, Jesus is the Son of God, right? But you're the Son of God also. Everybody is the Son of God, right? Aham bija pradapita, Krishna said. I'm the seed-giving Father of all living entities, right? So, but many things they got wrong. So Arius, he tried to interpret what it meant that Jesus is the Son of God, and he got it wrong. And the others rejected it. But they also got it wrong. They say that nowadays, many of the evangelical Christians, they say that Jesus is God. Jesus and the Father are the same. Now, does that make sense? The Father and the Son are the same person? No. Father and Son are two different persons. But they can agree on every point. That way they're one. One in agreement, but different in person. So you see, they got it wrong. Okay? So, that's good.
So
Yeah.
one thing, Maharaj, when is this accurately interpreted by Arias that because he is the Son of God, he is not co-substantial? Is that Bhagavatam establishes the same thing, right? Because Brahmaji is not the same as the Supreme Lord Krishna.
No. Theoretically, we are all co-substantial with God because we all have an eternal soul. You see how confusing it gets? If you consider the human body as the person, then you would say they're not co-substantial. But that's a wrong conception. Who we are really is we are an eternal part and parcel of Krishna.
Correct.
Okay? So we are. Look up the word co-substantial. Let's see what it says in the dictionary. Co-eternal means they're both eternal. Well, we're eternal too. Now the next question is co-substantial. If we are not identifying with the body and we identify with our soul, we are co-substantial. Yeah, the same substance. So if you say if the soul is eternal, then it's the same substance as the Lord. Okay? So you see, the Christians got everything mixed up because they were using Greek philosophy to understand the Bible. That was a big mistake. Okay, so let's go on further. See, now we learned about Christianity. We learned all these words, flaccid, and co-substantial, co-eternal, and we learned about the Arianism, and we learned about pejorative, and so many things. Just take notes about all this. Okay, so yeah.
You want me to read, Maharaj? Or is it
About Arianism?
Yeah,
No, we don't want to hear any speculation. That's enough. So it says, the personality of Godhead is never formless. In the material world, he may not be visible in his personal form to the less intelligent class of men, and therefore he may sometimes be called formless. But actually he is always in his eternal form in his Vaikuntha planet, as well as in other planets of the universes as different incarnations. This is an amazing statement by Prabhupada. Of course, if you just read it really quickly, it doesn't strike you. It doesn't mean much. You know, well, let me go on to the next sentence now. I understood. No, you didn't understand anything. None of. So, this sentence needs a lot of explanation, actually. But actually, he is always in his eternal form in his Vaikuntha planets, as well as in other planets of the universes, as different incarnations. So that means that when Krishna appears as Nrsimhadev, when he appears as Matsya Avatar, when he appears as Kurma, those bodies are not material bodies. They are transcendental bodies. However, there are Nitya and Naimitic incarnations of Krishna. Look these two words up. Nitya and Naimitic. Have you ever heard these? Well, Nitya, you know what it means. Eternal. Naimitic. Naimitic. Do you find it anywhere? Naimitic. Anyway, I'll tell you what it is, but we should look it up because it's very important. I don't know if... what?
It's occasional duties that an individual needs to perform or rites to be performed on special occasions.
Yeah. So, the Naimitic incarnations of Krishna are not eternal. They're not in the spiritual world. They only appear in the material world for, read the definition.
For
Specific duties. For specific duties or purposes, right? So, the Nrsimhadev appears because Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu were creating havoc in the material world, right? So he appears in a form that cannot, he appeared for Hiranyakashipu in a form that was not human and not animal. And he killed Hiranyakashipu on his lap, so it wasn't on the ground, on the earth, or in the sky. And he killed him at the point where daytime becomes nighttime. It's called twilight. So it's not daytime, it's not nighttime. You see? So he appeared in a special form. But Nrsimhadev does not have a planet in the spiritual world. And most of the animal forms of the Lord do not have eternal planets in the spiritual world. They appear for specific purposes in the material world. Now the question is, are their bodies material or spiritual? Yeah, I would say their bodies are spiritual. But we should look that up, though, to be sure. Right. Okay. Hey, look up. Is the body of Lord Nrsimhadev spiritual? It has to be, because he's an incarnation of the Lord. The only thing is, he's a Naimitic incarnation. He does not have a planet in the spiritual world. Okay, so then it says, he is always in his eternal form in his Vaikuntha planets, as well as in other planets of the universes as different incarnations. You see why I said this one sentence needs a lot of explanation. But if you read it on your own, you just go past this sentence. You'd say, well, I understood everything it said. You go on to the next sentence. But there's a lot to understand in this sentence. Then it says, the example of the sun is very appropriate in this connection. This is another analogy. Analogy. There's a difference between an analogy and a metaphor. Do you know what that difference is? Well, analogy is when you say like. So you say that it's just like the sun. So that's what Prabhupada said here, right? He says, the example of the sun is very appropriate in this connection. The sun in the night may not be visible to the eyes of men in darkness, but the sun is visible whenever it has risen. the sun is not visible to the eyes of the inhabitants of a particular part of the earth does not mean that the sun has no form. So, if you say, it is like the sun, that would be a analogy. But you say, the sun is, that would be a metaphor. The sun is the eyes of my lover. So that is a metaphor. It's not. It doesn't say the sun is like the eyes of my lover. No, you say the sun is the eyes of my lover. So that would be a metaphor, and the sun is like the eyes of my lover. That would be a analogy. So look up metaphor and analogy. So we looked up nitya and naimitic. Now it's metaphor and analogy.
Metaphor is a figure of speech in which a word or a phrase is applied to an object or an action to which it is not literally applicable.
Right. So if you say, my lover's eyes are the sun of my life, that would be a metaphor. You're not using like or as. But if you say, oh, my lover's eyes are like the sun, that would be an analogy. Okay. So what time is it now? Huh? 7:22. Okay. So we'll stop right there. We only covered 2 paragraphs. Are there any questions? Yes. And why did you ask him to stand up? Oh, he has a question. You don't have a question.
No, I have a question, but
Oh,
I thought
okay.
let me.
Preference to
Preference.
gentlemen before rascals. No.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Yesterday you said day before yesterday you said Krishna gave handshake to Brahmaji, but why did he give handshake to Brahmaji?
He gives what to Brahmaji? What's that word?
Handshake.
Oh, handshake.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because he congratulated Brahmaji because Brahmaji listened to what he said and acted the way Krishna wanted him to act. So Krishna will shake your hand also if you listen to what he says and act according to what he asked you to do. So he asked Brahmaji to perform tapa, austerities, to let's say, in other words, just like Prabhupada is telling us, go out on Sankirtan, come to class every day, eat only prasadam, worship the deity, associate with devotees, right? So if we listen to what Prabhupada says, which is the same as listening to what Krishna says, then Krishna will shake your hand. Okay? You understand? Now you're going to listen to what Krishna says, or you're not going to listen? Which one are you going to do?
Listen.
Very good. You have understood. Okay, go ahead.
So, Hare Krishna Maharaj, we talked about the eternal form, that Krishna is always in the eternal form in different planets, right? So, how do we understand Maharaj?
All his forms are eternal.
Yeah, all forms are eternal. Different incarnations are also eternal, right?
So some of those incarnations, although the form is spiritual, it's only manifest for a particular purpose in the material world.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
Maharaj, one thing like, how do we understand this? Like when Krishna done with his lila here, I mean the pastimes here, right, in the Kali Yuga, and then he left the body. When we say he left the body, then how do we understand that part?
The body he left when he was shot in the foot by a...
Yes.
Yeah. That body was an illusory body.
Okay.
Just like, oh, The magician was cut in half. I saw it with my own eyes. Have you ever seen that when they cut the magician in half?
Yeah.
Right? Was he cut in half?
No.
It was an illusion.
Yeah.
That's the same. Same thing. You don't think Krishna can do that? He's Yogeshwara, master of all mysticism.
Yeah.
So if he wants to leave an illusory body, he can do it. He has the power to do it. Just like the magician creates an illusion where you think he was cut in half. And then they close the curtain, and they open the curtain, and he's jumping up and down. Haribol, Haribol. So, it's an illusion. Okay.
Okay.
Haribol. All right. Well, we'll have Guru Puja, unless there is one more question. Yeah.
Yesterday you talked about the 9 qualities of civilized person.
Yeah, Bhisma Pitamaha's 9 points to be a civilized person, and I said this should be our New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
We should
So I
follow
think-
these by, and what are they? Not to become angry,
Not to lie.
not to lie, not
forgive.
and to equally
distribute
distribute wealth. So if you give $50 to your son to buy something, you should give $50 to the temple as a donation. Okay? Equally distribute wealth. If you're spending $50 on yourself, then you should give $50 to the temple also. Now, you say, well, I bought a house for, $1 million. Does that mean I have to give $1 million to the temple? Eventually, yes. Before you die, yes.
So the question was on, I think
You might not have to give it right away.
but eventually, yeah.
Yeah.
So on the 8th quality, which is like being simple, and we were having some conversations after the class.
Well, I gave the verses,
Yeah, 1-9.
4th chapter, 19 to 23rd. Yeah.
So in being simple, does it mean to be minimalist or to be
Yes.
simple in character?
No, both. Both. What do you mean? What do you
So-
mean by simple in character? I know it means minimalist.
Yeah.
What do you mean by simple in character?
Like being humble and being modest, like yeah, like book.
No,
character
let's
wise,
not
just-
mix. Let's not mix things up. Being simple is explained in those verses, but yet we should also follow Lord Chaitanya's advice. Chinadapi sunichena tarorapi sistana mani namanadena kirtaniya sadahari. In order to be sadahari, never stop chanting Hare Krishna your whole life, right? Then you should be more humble than a straw on the street, more tolerant than a tree, ready to offer respect to all living entities, even to those that don't respect you. In such a state of mind, then you can become sadahari. You're not going to say, oh, that guy insulted me. I'm so upset. I can't even chant Hare Krishna anymore. Oh, wait a minute. What was insulted? Only your false ego was insulted, not your soul. And you made this false assumption. I'm so disturbed. I can't chant Hare Krishna anymore. That is nonsense. You see?
Yeah. So 419 to 423 talks about the
Minimalist.
the minimals, and those are the qualities of the pure devotees, like to be devotee.
Yeah.
Versus this purport says that these are one cannot be called a civilized person without acquiring the above mentioned preliminary qualities. So does it mean
There are
that
more things.
so these are the
Vacha
basic found
Vegam, Manasakroda Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udarapasta Vegam.
so these are the foundational things after which we can attain those devotional
Obviously,
qualities?
yeah, there's many more things.
Okay.
But these are base, the beginning of civilized life.
So this get us to the Sattva Guna.
It'll get us where?
Sattva guna, mode of goodness.
It'll avoid obstacles to getting there. It'll avoid the obstacles. Obstacles are you get angry. Obstacles are you treat people as if they're your subordinates, like idiots. And you give them, second-class food, but you eat first-class food, and you look down on them, being pure in mind means, you should actually, all of us should be pure in mind. Why? Because in Kali Yuga, there are several benefits. There are a lot of negatives, but there's some benefits that are very valuable. One is that if you think of doing something bad, you don't get the sinful reaction. Whereas in previous lives, if you think of something bad, immediately you would get the karmic reaction. You have to actually do the bad thing to get the karmic reaction. But in previous times, if you think about doing something good, you would not get the positive karma unless you actually do it. But in Kali Yuga, simply thinking about doing something good, you get the result. Yeah. You get the positive results just by thinking about it, right? So there are certain benefits in Kali Yuga that are not there in previous ages. That's to make it a little easier for people to be Krishna conscious in such a negative atmosphere. Of course, most people don't, although it's right there, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, most people don't know this. Most devotees don't know it, right? But even if the devotee doesn't know all this, if they just have faith in chanting Hare Krishna, all this will be revealed. It's the faith that counts in order to have knowledge. You have to have faith, and faith always precedes knowledge. So if we have absolute faith in the holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. I'm too stupid to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, but I have absolute faith in this holy name. Then all this knowledge will be revealed over time. But if you don't have faith, and you're just a bookworm, reading Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, coming up with different theories, like Arius, that you'll never understand. You never understand because you don't have faith. So that's the position of most people. They can mouth the words, but they don't actually believe it. So if I say, let's say, if I say to someone tomorrow, I said, okay, quit your job, open a temple in Bellingham. The person would say, what? Are you crazy? But that's what Prabhupada was doing. He told me to open a temple. And I didn't have any money, and I just joined Krishna consciousness. But I gave up everything else and just focused on how am I going to open a temple. And that's what many devotees in those early days were like that. Prabhupada would give them order. You go to London. How are they going to go? They didn't even have enough money to buy a ticket to go to London, right? But somehow or other, they went to London, and then their idea was, if we could meet the Beatles, then it would be easy for us to establish Krishna consciousness. Meet the Beatles? Beatles were at the height of their fame at that time, but yet they did it. They had this desire to meet the Beatles, and the Beatles would give them a temple somehow or other. It happened. That's a miracle. Meet the Beatles at that time was very difficult, but it happened because they were desiring it. You see. So we really don't have faith today, not much faith. If we did, then we would go to Bellingham immediately, open up a temple, and give up our job, give up everything. So I'm not asking you to do it. I'm giving you an example. But you see, that's what's required. Just like Prabhupada's guru told him, go to the Western world and preach in English. After 3 people already went who were top devotees in Gaudiya, and they all failed. And Prabhupada's not even, was not one of those top devotees at the time. He was just a grihasta, right? But he didn't fail because he had faith that whatever his guru says, it must be done. And he did it. And his guru also said, form a GBC. None of the other disciples formed a GBC. None of them. Right? He did it. He did everything his guru told him to do because he had faith in his guru.
So, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj advised to form GBC?
Yes. And they didn't do it. Yeah. They had plenty of chance to do it. It didn't happen until 1968, 69, when Prabhupada formed the GBC. You see. So they had from 1936 to 1969 to form a GBC. They didn't do it. They have till today. They still didn't form a GBC. In all their different matas and all their different gurus, none of them have done it. They've stuck to the old system of you appoint the next acharya. And that's not what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted. All depends about how much faith you have. So you can be a great devotee, you can know so much Shastra. But what does Prabhupada say here? Well, we'll go over it tomorrow. I don't want to extend the class, but he says that, people may believe in Krishna, but they don't believe enough to actually do what Krishna wants them to do. We read that today. It says, anyway, let's have Aarti. I'll find it while we're... Who's going to lead? Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Jayo Prabhupada, Jayo Prabhupada, Jayo Prabhupada, Jayo Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma.
Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma.
Bandho Muhi Savadana Mate.
Bandho Muhi Savadana Mate.
Jahara Prasade Bai E Bhava Toriya Jai.
Asade Bai He Bhava Toriya Jai.
Krishna Prapti Hoy Jaha Hoy Te.
Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoite.
Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Kya.
Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Kya.
Arena Koriyo Mane Asha.
Arana Koriya Mane Asa.
Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati.
Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati.
Je Prasade Pure Sarva Asha.
Je Prasade Pure Sarva Asa.
चक्षुर्दाम दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से
चक्षुदान दिल जय जननी जन्मे प्रभु से
दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशितो
दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित
प्रेम भक्ति जाहा होइते अविद्या विनाशा जाइते
गुरु करुण
वेदे गाय जाहारा चरितो
वेदे गाय जनर चरित
श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु आदामा जानारा बंधु
करुणा सिंधु अर्दन जनर बंधु
लोकेनाथ लोकेरा जीवाना
जीवाना
हा हा प्रभु कोरो दोया देहो मोरे पदाचाया
प्रभु कोरो दोया देह मोरे पदाचाया
एबे जास गोशिक त्रिभुवाना
एबे त्रिभुवाना
Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana
Prabhupada Patita Pavana
Jayo Prabhupada Jayo Prabhupada Jayo Prabhupada Jayo Prabhupada
Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami iti namine
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Jananamutale Bhakti Vedanta Swami iti namine
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashata Deshatarine
Namaste Saraswati Devi Varnarine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Vaskatya Desatarine
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Nitai Gora Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gora Hari Bol Nitai Gora Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gora Hari Bol.
Jayo Vishnupad, Paramahansa Pararajikachasta Tadasatara Shri Simad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai, Namacharya, Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Shri Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Dvaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Samakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Shri Mayapura Dham Ki Jai, Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Ganga Maya Ki Jai, Jamuna Maya Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the simple devotees, all glories to the simple devotees, all glories to the simple devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Patita Pavana Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityaname Namaste Saraswati Devi Guru Vari Vichari Devi Sesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Dasatani Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain the pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross oceans and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus feet. Attachment to his lotus feet is perfection.